Hello and welcome back to Football 301. I am your host, Nate Tice. We are going to be previewing Week 12, the Dirty Dozen week. We are going to be looking at 2 big matchups for a deep dive, and then we're going to give one thing on the 10 other games on Sunday, and the Monday night slate. To help me do that, as always, for these Thursday preview shows and soon to be other shows, such as a Sunday recap show and a pre-Thanksgiving Tuesday show, is my guy, Mr. Verts, Charles McDonald. How you doing today, Charles?
I'm doing good. We've gotten consistent rain in New York City for the first time in like almost 2 months. So, hey, the tree in my backyard was looking very ill, very sick. It's been like unusually hot for November, but we finally got a cool little 50-degree day. So I'm posted up in the office recording this podcast. And yeah, I hope everyone else gets to stay as cozy as I am this weekend.
I know. That sounds really cozy. We just got chills. Sunny skies, though. Chills. I would like a little rain. I think we're going over like 100 days since we've gotten rain here in Vegas.
God.
It's the desert, to be expected. Yeah. I'm not totally crazy. I'm not, just but one day would be nice. But fun, interesting games here. Like the ones that we're going to be breaking down are 2 ones that, again, like I said, worthy of a deep dive. But when we go through the one thing, there's actually some more just tasty matchups than you would first think, or at least tasty for Football 301, ones that we find intriguing that we'll throw on the syllabus. And then you guys have to read it and go, okay, yeah, that was interesting. You have one takeaway from it. But that first game, the Harbowl, we have Ravens at Chargers. This is Monday Night Football. Chargers are 3-point underdogs at home in Los Angeles. I don't know. I heard that Los Angeles crowd last week against the Bengals. That was the most pro-Chargers crowd I probably ever heard at that stadium, or probably any LA or San Diego stadium that they've played in the last few years. But when you're watching this game, Charles, let's say when the Ravens have the ball against this Chargers defense, both stack up pretty high in all the analytics stuff that we look at, all the numbers. But when you're watching that side of the ball, what are you focusing on?
I thought what was really interesting about the Bengals-Chargers game, going into it, what we talked about was, the Chargers, obviously really well-schemed defense. They have some talent, but overall, like you can find like maybe more talented units just like from a personnel basis. And I think we kind of saw both sides of that coin, where there were times where, especially in the first half, where they were able to get the Bengals off the field, keep them in bad down distances, kind of disrupt the whole timing of things. And then in the second half, it was like, wait, hold on. We got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. You guys don't really have anyone at cornerback that can keep up with that. So that just one-on-one superior talent kind of got them back into the game and made that a really close game by the end of it. And I think, obviously the Ravens wide receivers aren't T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, but like overall, still from just an elite talent perspective, they still do have guys like Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry who are capable of just taking over a game by themselves. And I kind of just want to see how the Chargers fare again when they have to go against like another pairing of elite talent that are kind of gonna attack the game in similar ways, just like from 2 wide receivers to Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, where both of them are really elite rushing threats, and obviously Lamar's having a crazier throwing the ball. The Ravens, they got to bounce back from last week.
The Steelers speed bump, man.
The Steelers speed bump.
Can't get over it.
Yeah, the Derrick Henry fumble, I was like, oh my God, like that's why I knew they were going to lose, and I think that was very, very early in the game. When
it was. I think it was first or second drive. It was way early. Yeah.
Well, because I was at MetLife watching Aaron Rodgers go 5 straight drives without getting a first down, so I was kind of flipping around the NFL when the Jets were on offense, and that's when I saw that. I was like, oh, Steelers won. It's very early in the game, but they won. But last week, the Steelers, they held the Ravens, and if you just watch the game, obviously, I don't think any of this is surprising. They held them in the season low in net yards per attempt, yards per play, points per drive, EPA per play, EPA per dropback success rate. And also, this was the second time this year the Ravens offense has been held to negative EPA. The other time was week 2 against the goddamn Raiders, which...
Oh, God, that wacky game, yeah.
Right? Like every week that goes by, I'm like, what the hell happened in that game?
It was insane.
Yeah, I think one area is going to be interesting for the Ravens. Their pass protection recently hasn't been all that great. Their 30th in pressure rate given up over the past month. And we know like the Chargers, that's a team that can take advantage of that. So I think this is probably just going to be another game where Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry just go absolute sicko mode and carry them over to the finish line. Because I think outside of that, they kind of do match up well as far as the Chargers defense versus the Ravens offense.
Yeah, it's a strength on strength, especially, run stuff. The Chargers stack up top 3, top 5, every metric that you just laid out there for the season. And then I haven't played the toughest slate of offenses, but they've given the Chiefs some fits. They were giving the Bengals a little bit of fits until the talent always wins out.
Yeah, at some point.
In every sport, talent always wins out. All things being equal, talent wins out. But, having said that, like the Chargers, and I had a Twitter thread once, I think after they played the Browns. I'm like, all right, I'm going to study what the Chargers are doing right now. And it was like Joey Bosa made a play. And it was like, oh, yeah, Joey Bosa. And then Khalil Mack made a play. It's like, oh, yeah, Khalil Mack. Derwin James makes a play. Oh, yeah, Derwin James. Yeah, you guys are really good. You guys are stars. And they're playing well. Like James is playing in the slot a bunch. The Chargers use a lot of dime. Like they'll use 6 DBs no matter what the look is on offense. I think on early downs, I looked it up, when like the offenses are in 2 or fewer receivers, so base personnel groupings, the Chargers have the highest rate of dime usage in the NFL. And it's like not even close. It's like almost 20%. No one else is like above 5%. But no, they're just really well coached. They got Puna Ford and Tierra Tart, free agent additions in the middle who are like just playing really well. And I mean, the Chargers Chargers spine, I should say, was probably one of the biggest weaknesses in the entire NFL for the last 2 years. And now it's like a strength, it's just been really fun to watch. Like these guys are just playing really well, play really sound. Tuli Oppo, I think I got that. Had 6 pressures last week. He's playing well. Dan Hanley, the linebacker's playing well. All these guys are playing really well. So having said that, the Ravens are a different beast. And that is kind of what's just so interesting about that is like, yeah, I think they're going to hold up most part on this, the Chargers defense and stuff, but they're still susceptible to what the Ravens are good at. Like you can get explosive runs against this Chargers defense. I think they're 26th in explosive run rate allowed. This is Derrick Henry, Lamar. This is where they go. And while the Chargers defense is good against certain other things, like they're good against play action, they're really good against deep or quarterback design runs. So like zone reads, all that stuff. Not a big sample size, but they're very sound. They don't kind of get out of whack. This is where you see Jesse Minter, this kind of college background kind of crop in here. He's like, oh, I know these looks. Like, right. Yeah, quarterback running. Yeah, I got it. Like watch them against Kyler. They snuffed out everything. Not good against scrambles though. So there's the difference of the quarterback runs. They're 25th in QB rushing yards allowed per game, but it's all mostly on scrambles. They're 30th in scramble yards allowed per game to quarterbacks, only above the Jaguars and the Giants. And this is because it's a double-edged sword of how they want to play. They're very scheme heavy, very like game plan based defense, a lot of zone coverages. They do a lot of bracket stuff that goes down and charting as 2-man, but
Chase cooked either Chase or Higgins cooked one of them for like
they did the Higgins the double move. Oh yes. yeah torched it. They love doing that on a 4th down. It was a baller play. I love that. And it goes down as 2-man, and it's one of these things where my quality control coach comes back into play, and I'm like, it's bracket, guys. But what bracket is it's a double team. It's a safety and a corner on one guy. They'll do it on both sides. Really good against a Higgins or a Chase or something like that, or a Ravens offense that sometimes only trots out 2 receivers. And okay, I'm going to focus on the 2 receivers out there, Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman, or the shadow of Deontay Johnson. And I'm going to focus on them, but that allows for scrambles. Everybody's eyes are on the receiver or their tight end matchup, and no one looks at the quarterback. So why I'm saying all that is, look for little Lamar scrambles on these passing downs, and look for maybe some explosive runs on Derrick Henry on early downs. And again, this is going to be more, I feel like this is more of a second half matchup. Like the first half, I think it's going to be kind of neutral. In the second half, we'll see whether the Chargers have new stuff to snuff it out, or if the Ravens get there and they pop something later in the game. So really fun matchup, though. I was just trying to find angles on it. The one thing I saw was also another thing is Chargers are not good against screens, running back screens. They've allowed gains of 15, 37, 18, and 33 yards on running back screens. You know who's good on running back screens? Derrick Henry. just let him chug down, Tractorino all the way. He's averaged 14.8 yards on running back screens in his career, nearly 15 yards, only taken 2 of them this year. And they went from 27 and 23 yards, but he's taken a ton in his career. He's always been very good at it. So that's another thing I just want to throw in there. So maybe they sprinkle in a running back screen to slow down that pass rush. Cause like you mentioned, the Chargers can get after you. Like they don't need to blitz, but they'll blitz in the late downs. But man, they still have Khalil Mack, still have Joey Bosa, still have Tier Tart, still have Tuli Tuliapo. Like they can really create pressure just naturally, and they do everything else on the back end to open up that pressure and let those guys get home. So it's fun. It's going to be like there's natural answers, but this Chargers defense is really smart. So I just kind of want to see what pops. The other side of the ball, though, there's good. There's bad. There's stuff in between. Yeah. There's a really good quarterback on this side of the ball too. But when you're watching Chargers offense versus Ravens defense, what you checking out on that side, Charles?
I mean, just more Justin Herbert heroics because I keep because I have so much fun watching this offense, and then when I look at the metrics, they're like, yay,
but bottom 10 and everything.
You're right. And I just sit there and think, man, like, where would they be without Herbert? Because, when I'm visually watching it, it doesn't feel as bad as when you actually start cutting through some of the numbers.
Totally agree.
Down to down, they're still, like a bottom 10 offense in the league. It just feels like when they need a play, they get it. And I don't really know always how to quantify that. But I feel like when I'm watching them every time, or just about every time, especially in the first half, like in the fourth quarter, when Herbert had to just drop back there and make a play, he was there and able to make it. But they still need those plays because quite honestly, they just waste a lot of plays before they get going. And I know that part of that is just due to Harbaugh's philosophy, and one day they will actually be like a consistent running the ball team. Today is not quite that day yet. Like if they don't get the explosives from Dobbins, they're not really doing all that much all the time on the ground, even though it looks so great. You got the look lined up, you got the motion coming across, Matlock's improving, then 3 yards. I was like, it's the coolest 3-yard run you've ever seen, but it's still only going for 3 yards at the end of the day. And I think that this is like sneakily a tough matchup for the Chargers because, if we're looking over like just recent trends, Ravens defense kind of coming to life a little bit over the past month of football. The Ravens defense are 9th in success rate, 10th in success rate against the dropbacks, 7th in rushing success rate, and they're 1st in red zone defense in terms of percent of drives that end in a touchdown. Now, we did also see within that same sample size, the Bengals absolutely torched them on Thursday Night Football, but still, that's even if you're doing that against some weaker offenses, you're still in a much better spot than where you were at the start of the season. So I just want to see if they can get them kind of in the 3rd and long, because I did find an interesting split here where the Ravens, the cover 0 looks, they're 6th in the league in terms of how often they use cover 0. And I found that Herbert against cover 0 looks gets sacked 15.6% of the time when the Chargers face cover 0 looks, which was by far like one of the worst rates in the league.
Easily.
Yeah. So if they can stop the run early downs and maybe just come after them, I'm sure you'll probably get burned a few times because Herbert is still good at finding those one-on-one matchups, and even guys like Lad McConkey have shown some ability to get open to man coverage. But I still haven't been able to just fully jump off of this Ravens personnel yet. I feel like the catch point luck for Brandon Stevens has to improve at some point, because it's like a lot of times he's like mirroring and he's close, and then the ball comes and he just forgets how to play football. But if you can just blitz Herbert, and maybe sometimes the interior isn't as sound in terms of picking up what they need to, you can force them into some bad 3rd down sacks, because just the way they play offense, they're prone to the 3rd and longs.
Yeah, no, they are. I had the number. I'm writing about this matchup. Haven't finished it. Sorry, Joey, editor Joey. Haven't filed it yet. They definitely. Oh, they have the long 26th ranked average distance to go on 3rd down. The Chargers do. And like you said, it's like the coolest 2-yard gain you'll ever see on 1st down. It's like, oh man, look at all these big boys out there. Tight end. You got a defensive lineman at fullback. Oh man, here comes the motion. 2 yards. And then, okay, they're going to do it again. Okay, 1 yard. All right, here's a 3rd and 7. All right, go help us out, Justin. Okay, cool, good pass. And it's all great. And I love watching it the next day, but I'm sure it's not a lot of fun for the quarterback to operate in. The Chargers are 30th in early down success rate on running back runs. They're 29.7% success rate. The league average is 36%. You want to be at 40%. Like that's really the threshold for a good run offense. So they're not even close to that, despite the good designs. They'll pop stuff in the second half. And you saw that at the Bengals game, the end of the Bengals game. But every week, usually in the second half, because they play in a lot of close games, they will pop something and Dobbins will pop something. They're 8th in explosive run rate in the second half. So there's some like merit to this formula, like, hey, just keep poking at it and the bubble will pop. But also it's like, yeah, I know, but you guys are getting away with it because you have an all-world quarterback playing like at an all-world level right now. So again, it's like, I appreciate the formula, but like you said, they need a little bit better personnel to actually like take advantage of what they're trying to do. Tons of play action. The Chargers are 5th in design rush rate and highest rate of play action in the entire NFL. Like, this is Harbaugh all the way. Like, Harbaugh is like Mike Love from the Beach Boys. Like, don't F with the formula. Like that's basically what he's saying with this formula. But it's kind of cool to watch Herbert in this because he's being, and you can see, and we've joked about it, everyone's seen the videos, but you can see Herbert being confident and unlocked in this offense. Like he is running more. It's the highest scramble rate he's ever had in his career. He's pushing the ball more. He has the deepest air yards per pass attempt that he has in his entire career, 8.6 yards this year. His average over his entire career was 7.4. So he's pushing things a yard deeper on average, which he's tied actually for 8th with Lamar Jackson, who we all know, well, has no qualms with pushing the ball. But it's really cool to watch, like, just the aggressive Herbo just doing stuff like Turbo Herbo. Like, I mean, and watching the confidence he has with Ladd McConkey, watching it with Will Dissly, him pushing the ball to these guys. And it doesn't matter. Quentin Johnston is playing better, even if he's still more league average. Okay, I'm finding him and getting him the ball. I'm trying to rip these aggressive throws. Again, it's not the best matchup for them because the Ravens' run defense is really freaking good. The Ravens are 2nd in EPA allowed per running back run. They have the lowest explosive run rate allowed in the NFL. They've only allowed 6 explosive runs, which are gains of 12 yards or more, in the entire season, according to True Media. Comparison, the league average is 17. The Commanders lead this category with 29. So they've given up 6. The league leader has given up 29 explosive runs. So again, a strength on strength thing. They don't let you gash them. And then the Chargers if they can't get there in the second half, can they put the game away if it's close? So again, I think the first point you said, the first sentence you said is kind of nailed it. It's going to be a Herbert hero ball mode. I think that's just what it's going to be. It's going to be where you got to get those 5-6 huge throws, try and keep this game ugly, make it a race to 20. And I think that's what the Chargers formula has to be. But there's a reason the Ravens are 3-point favorites on the road, even if the Chargers are playing really, really good ball. So
if I was Zach Orrick, I would kind of, I know it's been a shaky plan, but I would kind of trust my DBs to get the job done,
Right.
It's not like
you might get caught once or twice, but just make them do it 50 times. Like, I would just like not chase, you know what I mean? Like just play sound, just keep everything in front of you. Yeah. I mean, the Ravens get gashed through the air. Like, they don't get gashed in the run, but they get caught. So like you said, it's been improving. It's not as bad as it was the first month. So maybe it improves a little bit more. Roquan Smith is also dealing with a hammy. So that's, might not be fun for them, but it's just nice to see Herbert unlocked after several years of the Joe Lombardi offense era, and even whatever last year was with Kellen Moore. Like, it's just kind of really cool to see him just playing this way, even if the stats aren't crazy. The eye test has just been really, really cool. But last thing I would say was the other side of the ball was the Chargers are actually really good too, and this might be interesting against that Ravens O-line. So many twists and games and pass rush plans. So that's another thing I'll be interested to see if they have something cool to kind of corral Lamar and kind of keep him in the pocket, even though Lamar's been dicing people from the pocket this year. So it's a fun matchup. It really is.
Last thing I have, I just want to see if they go, kind of like Madden 04 mode, Vic, every once in a while, where you put Dane Henley, spy Lamar, because he might be one of the few linebackers that's fast enough to actually play in front of him, but still easier said than done.
Yeah. Converted former receiver. No, Henley's playing like a Pro Bowler. He's really Denzel Perryman. Next one's playing well, but Henley has just been a revelation. It's really cool. And Tira Tart, longtime favorite, it's just been a monster.
Got it together.
Yeah. Contract years. I mean, it's a 1-year deal, so it's automatic contract year. But predictions for this, like I said before, Chargers are 3-point underdogs.
I think the Ravens win. Close one, but I think the Ravens win. Pull away in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think Ravens. I'm going to go Ravens win. It's a push, though. It's 3 points. I'm thinking like a 24-21 or a 2017 type game. All right, moving on to the next game. The next deep dive breakdown. This is one that I feel like we get every single year. Maybe it's because these teams always win or whatever it is, but it's a classic. We got the 49ers at the Packers. One of my earliest football memories is these two teams playing in the playoffs and the Terrell Owens catch from Steve Young. Yeah. He gets whacked in the end zone, but still catches it. Such a really fun game. I remember being on the Stairmaster a few years ago and watching it when they had like an old NFL Network replay when I was watching it. But when the 49ers have the ball against this Packers defense, what are you checking out, Charles?
I guess the first thing I just want to see if Christian McCaffrey can get going again, because he just doesn't look right now. I know, like when you look at even when you look at some of the advanced stats from last week, like he still had a quality game from an efficiency perspective, but you just watch him run. Doesn't have the same juice as he used to, and maybe that's something that can get better as they start to kind of move through the season and get him more reps towards the postseason. But man, it just seems a little tough. Seems a little tough for where he is right now. But I think what's interesting is, I keep looking at the Packers like defense point totals, and they don't always give up so many points. But then when you look at their down stuff, they're just abysmal. Like bottom 5 in like success rate for a bunch of stuff. They don't get a whole lot of pressure. They allow a lot of explosive plays. But again, like they still get turnovers. Their red zone defense is okay sometimes. So they are stretching the limits of bend don't break defense. And I think if there's a game for the 49ers run game to at least like start turning the corner and, moving in the right direction, this could be one of them. To me, it just kind of depends, like if they can actually exploit, some of the looks that they're going to be able to get and how it's going to be blocked up, because I don't think that anything's wrong with, or not too much is wrong with like where Shanahan's scheme is right now. But the players, like they're just not playing up to the standard, I think, that's been set up to them in the past. So this Packers defense is gettable. I really expect the 49ers to have a pretty big day through the air. I actually think Brock Purdy's been playing all right this year. Last week wasn't his best game, but like he seems to be a better quarterback this year than he was at any point in the past. So I kind of expect the 49ers to have a big day on offense. And then to me, it's just watching how does the run game look in terms of explosives, because I think they'll always be able to be a run game where for the most part you can just kind of play on time and on schedule, but the explosives is what really kind of got this offense going to the next gear. Like when you can get explosive runs on first and second down, that makes your life so much easier as a play caller, as a quarterback, really for the entire ecosystem. So if they can start to get that back, maybe they can go on a run, but that's kind of what we're waiting for here with the 49ers.
It's when I'm watching the 49ers, if Purdy's scrambling on the first couple drives, then I'm like, that's because usually their opening scripts are so good. So that's always what I'm checking out. But no, that's a great call. Packers are the sixth worst defense in terms of combined success rate and explosive play rate against early down runs, which is not where you want to sit when you're about to go against a Shanahan offense, because he'll just pepper it until it pops. I'm with you that I think that this could be a get right game for them. They also are Packers are 20th in pressure rate, which is huge because 20th in a bad way, because this 49ers offense, you mentioned some of the skill guys feel like take a step down. There's no Ayuk, which is a big deal. Debo just doesn't feel as crazy good this year, even as a receiver, or mostly as a receiver, especially. McCaffrey, of course, we've talked ad nauseum about him and him coming back from everything. But, Purdy's scrambling more than he has this year, like ever. It's nearly 10%. The last year was 3.5% in comparison. Like the league averages are usually around 5%. But not all of this is on him. Some of it is on him, and some of it's on the offensive line is really taking a step back. That is, and which is always kind of a thing with Shanahan offenses. He can get by with adequate average offensive line play because of the design, so many boots, so much movement, so much stuff that just makes their lives easier. They're dropping back more. Not the line you want to drop back more with. They're like, he has the highest pressure rate he's ever faced in his entire career. I know it's not a long career, but there's enough data points on it. And not all of it's on him, like I said. But the thing is, 16 of the pressures he's had this year have been extended pressures, which Next Gen Stats says 4 seconds or longer. He had 13 of those combined of the previous 2 years. That's a lot. To me, that is a combination of guys not getting open, a combination of him not trusting the guys getting open. If you have backup receivers in or a rookie receiver, I totally get that. Kittle's not in last week. Like they're taking turns on who's missing each week. So totally get that, why he's holding on to the ball. Also, just when you lose that little bit of confidence, that'll lead you to scrambling. Is that guy open? I'm just going to run it a little bit. He's been sacked 5 times this year in extended plays. He had 13 of those combined in the 2 years previously. His time to sack is 5.15 seconds this year, which is very long. Last year is 4.21 seconds. So every play just feels like it's the passing game feels boom bust, which before it never really felt like that. It felt just like, oh man, just another chunk play, and not a lot of negatives. So now it just feels a little bit more volatile, even if it's still good. That's what's so funny. It's like the struggling 49ers offense. Let me see where they rank. 4th, 6th, 7th, 4th. Like everything I look at. And I'm like, man, this Chargers offense is booming, man. Look at that. 25th, 28th, 27th, every stat. I know, it's just the feel is really a big thing. They have 11 drops this season. They had 11 all of last season. They had 9 all of the year before that. It's just that this team just can't catch a break. Like Jake Moody's misses several kicks. It's just one thing after another where they just can't get out of their own way. This is a great matchup for them to, all right, take a deep breath and just roll for the second half or the last quarter of the season. Matt and I were looking at earlier this week, everyone's like remaining schedule, how everyone stands. And it's like, man, they got a tough, the NFC West is not easy. And they got a decently tough slate against that. But the other thing too is, could be a Kittle game if he's playing. Packers, not good against the tight ends, which makes sense because their linebackers can be up and down. They a lot of single high stuff. They're 31st in defensive success rate against tight end targets, which, so might be a George Kittle game, which, again, that's been kind of the safety net for Purdy this year, and maybe see a little bit more of that this year or this week. Other side of the ball, Packers have the ball against this 49ers defense. What are you checking out, Chuck?
I want to see if the Packers offense can still keep being a machine on first and second down, because when you just it's really funny, honestly, how stark the splits are when you split first and second down versus third and fourth down, because especially over the past month, I think it's more pronounced because on first and second down, they're basically top 5, top 3, top 2 in all offensive stats, except for like rushing success rate, which they're 11th. So like even that is like you're still fine in that regard. But when they go to third and fourth down, this is just over the past month, because I was just looking at some recent trends. They are 25% on third down conversions over the last month of football, which I found to be a little surprising. I don't know, because I just think of Jordan Love and this high-flying passing game that exists sometimes. But, when you start to look down on some of these critical plays where they need to get things done, they're not always efficient there. They have their 30-second success rate on offensive dropbacks on third and fourth down over the past month at 23.1%. And this is all with the 7th shortest distance to first down on third down with 6.1 yards, which would make sense because they're so good on first down. So they are in some of these manageable third down situations, but they can't convert for whatever reason, which is why I think sometimes, you'll be watching these games like, man, they look so good. And then even the Bears game, they scored 20 points, or they haven't actually scored all that many points, even though they're moving the ball, or Jordan Love throws, it's one of those interceptions that he's prone to do every once in a while. But still, where this gets scary for me for the Packers offense is I know they're a better offense than the 49ers defense at this point. But the 49ers defense, you still have to account for having basically 2 assassins in the front 7 with Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. And if we're going to have like an off game by chance, we're not actually getting to good third long distances, that's where like those guys can really start to affect the game and turn the tides back towards the 49ers. Because if those guys don't go off, I don't really know if I see a pathway for the 49ers defense, they just seem to be flatly average across the board. Like no matter which way you want to slice it, like the first down, second down, cut up into different portions of the season, they've been like the 16th best defense since the start of the season. But when you have Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, you can still get off the field at critical times. So that's really what I'm looking forward to see if the Packers do find themselves in some of these, poor third and long distances, even though they're not really prone to being in those situations, if Nick Bosa and Fred Warner can really start taking over the game that way.
Yeah, even just talked about, it's always just one thing after another with this 49ers team. Nick Bosa gets hurt last week, is dealing with that. I forgot to even mention Brock Purdy's dealing with a bum shoulder. It's just like they just can't help, like they just can't get healthy and everything. But it's a great point that it's avoiding Bosa and avoiding Fred Warner, and then a little bit of avoiding Demonador Lenore, especially with Javarius Ward out, when he's been hurt with his stuff. That is kind of like, all right, if we can avoid that and mitigate these two, okay, then we got something here. And you watch the Seahawks have been so up and down on offense this year. You can see them get after them a lot in the second half, especially after Bosa got hurt. And you can see them set stuff up. You can see them kind of just go, okay, we're going to try this. All right, here's a counter punch. Here's a screen. Let's get Fred Warner going every which way, trying to control him. And even last week, the Packers against the Bears front, Bears have some similarities defensive structure wise to the 49ers. So sometimes it's nice to have a little takeaway on that. I watched so much Cardinals offense versus Chargers defense film this week because I was like, who else can I look at that's kind of like the Ravens? All right, Cardinals, I guess. So just trying to find those like matchups. And the Packers, you just kept mentioning their run game stuff. It is so cool just watching what they get to. And they're doing so much to try and make the linebackers be wrong. Jet sweeps, split action where a tight end crosses the face. They had one where they had a jet sweep, a fake handoff, a split action, and then they handed it off. So 3 things to make the linebackers figure out what to do. And it's hard. That's so hard. Yeah. I like the 49ers' chances better when they had this guy named Dre Greenlaw, who's working back from his injury right now. But if he's not out there and they just got Fred Warner, Devondre Campbell's just been a glaring weakness on his defense. Yeah. The Seahawks attacked him. Like they went after him, and the Packers, Ryan Grubb's been up and down. LaFleur is way better of a play designer and play caller than Grubb is. And so that's a little dicey. So yeah, it's kind of like, can the Packers finish drives? Like that's what it is. Like no shooting themselves in the foot, no love turnover, no drops on a third down, and they'll be all right. But again, it's easier said than done. It is kind of funny. The 49ers offense I would say is still good. The defense is average-ish, maybe slightly above average, and the special teams is terrible. And I'd still be like, oh yeah, they're okay. But it's just like, it just doesn't feel that way as I watch them every week. It's just like they just can't get over the hump, which is just so strange because they usually can.
Linebackers matter, folks.
They do. Especially if you want to play everybody off ball, it's like they really matter. If you want to keep everyone back there to do everything, yeah, they really matter. All right, what's your predictions for this? Packers are 2-point favorites at home.
I like the 49ers to get it done. I think the offense is a big day. That's it. I just think the 49ers offense plays better than the Packers offense. But I could see a shootout here, depending on which version of the Packers passing game you get. Because sometimes they're just like a tick off. And it ends in some nasty interceptions. But for the most part, they've been really good on offense this year. I just think the 49ers play a little bit better this week.
Looking at the weather, 45 degrees on Sunday. Only 20% chance of rain or snow or sleet or wherever they're going to get in Green Bay at this time of the year. I'll go with the Packers just to change it up. I'll go with the Packers. But I agree with you that I think this could be a pretty, like, there should be some fireworks, I think, on both sides of the ball. Both have some good answers for the other side. So I think it's just God, I sound like an old coach. Whoever makes fewer mistakes. Whoever has the fewer turnovers.
Yeah. Hey, look, both quarterbacks will give you a chance every once in a while.
They will.
In these games, They
will. I know there's going to be some highlight throws and there's going to be some iffy choices, I think, from both of these quarterbacks. So it'll be fun. All right, we're going to take a quick break after we just wrapped up those deep dives. Then we're going to get to one thing for the rest of the Sunday slate. We are back with one thing to watch for week 12. We're going to be alternating who takes the lead on this. And then, maybe we'll drop in, I don't know, in a fighting game, you can kind of call in a support. Were you a Marvel versus Capcom guy at all?
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever play those games. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Calling the supporting guy, jump in there. I think that's what we're doing here. So starting with Vikings at Bears in a classic NFC North tilt. The Bears are 3.5-point underdogs at home with their vibes. Charles, this is one of your games. 3.5, I know. When you're watching this game, what's your one thing watching Vikings Bears?
Oh man, this just I just am dreading the eventual Caleb Williams discourse after this game because dude, Brian Flores has to be drooling right now with looking at the Bears offense because we've seen offenses, and I think like the best brand of offense that has had success against this Brian Flores defense is like teams that are organized and like have a good plan and know what they're doing and sound rules.
You mean competency?
Yeah, competency, all the funky stuff. But this Bears offense, like they're so sloppy. Like there's no attention paid to the details. That just seems like worst case scenario against this defense. And you can just look at all the metrics. It's going to be heavily sided towards Vikings defense over Bears offense. And I think that we might officially go crazy after this game because we'll be like, no. Look, there's good plays here for Caleb. Yeah, I promise you there's good plays here, but the overall production is going to be bad. Like when you said the spread is 3.5 points, I thought that might be the Bears point total for the game because I don't see them getting to the end zone this week.
And it's like, even the Vikings, like too, I kind of matches the eye test, but then I look at the stats, I'm like, they're really good against the run, which is like kind of backwards how you would think when was usually with blitz happy teams and funky defenses, they're not really good against the run. They're usually average at best, but they're like the best or one of the best. And if you look at all the metrics, so it's not like, the Bears are, it's like, hey, just run the ball, make it easy on Caleb and no. This is going to be we keep using hero ball, but Caleb hero ball kind of game. I think we're going to see he's really good with the protection stuff. This will challenge it. this is going to challenge it. This is going to hurt a lot of rules. And even a guy like Will Levis last week has some success because he'll stand there and just fire things downfield. He'll throw grenades and just go, oh, some explode, hurt us. Some explode and hurt you. Caleb is more of a sniper. Caleb is very pristine with how he wants to play. He's not going to take chances if he doesn't think they're there, which is something he needs to work on. I still think he needs to kind of loosen up a little bit, just loosen up, skip class, as you're back there. And I think this is a good game for him to try that, which might lead to discourse if it goes sour. If he does try to extend a play or he does try to launch the ball downfield, but that's how you have to beat this defense. You have to run the ball and go for chunks in the air. You do not beat this defense nickel and diming them. You
what
just
time
can't.
is this game?
This is, I'm going to guess it's a noon game or a 1 o'clock East
1
Coast
p.m.
game.
Oh, okay, thank God, 1 o'clock game. So not too many.
Oh, because you're not when there's 3 games in the afternoon. Yeah.
When you were doing the
good point.
The Will Levis grenade bit, I thought you were going to say, and sometimes they explode on me because that's exactly what he does. Like the play, and this is so off topic, but the play where he threw a pick versus the Dolphins last year, he threw a pick to Zach Seiler, and they're like on their own goal line. A screen got picked off, and Will Levis tries to like lower his shoulder into Zach Seiler on the goal line and got demolished. Just like, dude, come on. Don't you want to play football, make some money?
You appreciate the toughness with them, but it's just always like, man, just un-F yourself. Please. That's all I want to say to him. I mean, shoot, that's how the coaches seem to talk to him too. But yeah, it's Vikings just have some good answers against this. And the Bears defense is starting to let up. They had some good moments, but they let up some explosives right now. You can kind of get them that way. And since the Vikings offense that thrives with explosives. So, some fun matchups there. But it's just this Bears team, another team that can't seem to get out of their own way. But I will say that Caleb is playing well, and I'll stand by it. And he's smart. And we got some creation last week, which is really good. He's a good player, guys. I'm telling you. But I'll go into one of my games next for one thing. That is a game that, even though it's a 7.5-point spread, the Lions at the Colts, and the Colts are 7.5-point underdogs at home. I actually think this game is a little more interesting than you would think at first glance. Just because, well, one, Anthony Richardson's playing. But, the Colts, they run the second highest rated play action. The Lions are the best defense against play action, EPA per play, success rate, all that type of stuff. So are we going to, and last week, if you saw Anthony Richardson really thriving, a lot of those big plays were, it's a lot of shotguns, so it doesn't have the same feel as an under center play action play, but a lot of play action stuff that was just opening up the middle of the defense and kind of just got to see Richardson with some clean reads and really just throwing guys open. He had his best game as a pro, it felt like. But then also the thing I really want to look at is the Lions, no matter what, run man coverage. They blitz at the highest rate on late downs, on 3rd and 4th down. How do the Colts handle this? How does Richardson scramble a bunch? He's not really a guy that chooses scramble first. He really tries to work from the pocket. It's why I'm optimistic about him still long term. But the Colts are starting a rookie center in Tanner Bortolini, Go Badgers, who actually is playing very well. I do want to give him a shout out, but he's still a rookie. And then they have an undrafted free agent at right guard. They have a likely backup at left tackle. They allowed the 3rd highest pressure rate against the blitz this season, according to Next Gen Stats, and they're going against the most blitz-happy team in the NFL on late downs. A little scary. That's a little scary for the Colts, but we'll see. Hey, throw them into the fire. Maybe they surprise you. Like I said, Bortolini's been playing well. Does Richardson surprise you against the blitz? That's going to leave you open to explosive plays down the field. Are we getting back to that 48% completion percentage from Richardson, as he tries to gash you? It's a good test. Colts defense has improved a little bit, but you're going against the Lions offense. And, I just want to see that interior Colts offensive line against DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil. You got some beef on the interior. So kind of just an interesting styles makes fights matchup. And a great test for Richardson after going against I don't know what to call the Jets defense now. A team that a zombie defense they're playing right now.
Madden defense, good in theory, bad in practice.
Theory. Got a lot of 80-something overalls that you're not. Yeah, that's actually exactly how it is. It's like a good Madden defense with a bad user. Shoot, even Sauce Gardner's getting torched by Alec Pierce and stuff. So not exactly what you want. But I'm very interested in this game. I obviously think the Lions have a ton of advantages. Lions, Ben Johnson versus Gus Bradley is not where you want to sit, but that Gus Bradley defense is 20th now, not 32nd. they're slightly bad as opposed to just outright bad. So anything to add on this game, or I want to just get to your next one?
No, I don't have too much to add. Although when I did go to the game this week, it was pretty cool to see how excited Anthony and Shane were that he was able to put that game together. Yeah, you got to talk to him. Yeah, I did. I got to talk to in the press conference and both of them briefly after the press conference, and they were feeling good, man. It was pretty obvious that the past 2-3 weeks had worn on them a little bit, and then to get this game. You have no more questions about who's going to be the starting quarterback moving forward. That was pretty cool to see. And I know for Anthony to kind of get that off of his back and actually put together a really complete performance, that I know that meant a lot for him. So let's hope that keeps rolling, because we should all be rooting for someone that athletic to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and it's still attainable for him.
The league is better with good quarterbacks, so it's just, you got to cheer for all of them, man. It's that's what you want to see. So, no, it was a positive performance. Now it's about stacking, not just good plays and good series. It's good games now. So stack those back to back. So we'll see how he does against probably the best team in the NFL, the Lions. All right, next is one of your games. It's an AFC East tilt. We got the Patriots at the Dolphins. Dolphins are 7.5-point favorites. With they're bigger favorites than how many wins they have. Charles, you wrote about Drake Maye this week. Shout out to you. But what is your one thing that you're checking out in this game?
It's Drake Maye. I know that there's probably a more concerning aspect here where since Tua's gotten back, the Dolphins' offense has been pretty good. They're
fourth, I think, in the NFL when he's on the field as far as the success rate.
Right. So that matters a lot for them and their chances to get to the playoffs. But, it's still kind of hard for me to get to invest in a 4-win team still going on the run and making the playoffs. But Drake Maye he's one of the stories of the league right now. I think one of the most interesting things to me is there was so much hand-wringing at the start of the season about, oh my God, you can't play him behind this offensive line. He's going to go get himself killed. And he has been such an improvement over Jacoby Brissett since the season started, where they've moved from basically being an apocalyptically bad offense to just like a slightly below average one on a down per down basis. I think he's actually producing positive points on offensive dropbacks this year. So in every single facet, like you look at success rate, you look at pressure rate, you look at sack percentage, it's all gotten so much better with Drake Maye in the lineup. And now like you have enough of a sample size to know, oh, like was just obviously the best quarterback on the roster and would have given him a better chance to win from the start. But I don't think 2 or 3 games behind Jacoby Brissett actually tanked their season. They got some bigger problems outside the quarterback. But I try not to get too ahead of myself, and I still feel this way about Caleb Williams too, but like it's more pronounced with Drake Maye right now. Like you are obviously just watching a superstar come into his own. Even in like this small sample size of what he's seen from NFL defenses, when you start watching his work under pressure and how he's still trying to create big plays under pressure and still following the play under pressure, like I think he's already one of the better quarterbacks in the league where you're like, oh, we're in a bad spot, but we got this guy who's going to read it out and make a big play. And it's not just the under pressure stuff. It's, clean pocket, just straight drop backs, working through, 5-step drops and throwing guys open before they're supposed to be, at their landmarks. He looks really, really good to me. And doesn't feel as sinister as like when the Patriots had Tom Brady and they were just marching down the field. Like I don't feel bad for rooting for this and wanting to be good because it's a lot of fun. And he's just a really, really explosive talent that's already coming to his own. Like if I was a Bills fan or a Jets fan or a Dolphins fan, I would just be rooting for the Patriots to miss on as many draft picks as possible over the next few years because they got the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, they got a ton of cap space this offseason. They get 2 more pass catchers and an offensive line. Like you can rework that defense, as long as they get back healthy and stuff. Yeah. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Drake Maye. I concur that he looks like a star. Just even that first 3rd down conversion he had last week against the Rams, where it's a 4-week blitz, which is a rule breaker against the protection that they had, the 6-man protection they had, and he just drifts away from the free runner, hits the crosser. Michael Hoyt, who 97 for the Rams, drops into the hole, and he just holds on the ball. What's Pop Douglas clear it, and then hits him as he's getting hit. It's just like, that's a superstar play.
So good.
Against the blitz, knowing it's a blitz, not bailing the pocket and running away from where the routes are working. It's just like he had an answer in his head. It's just get to the answer. Hearing him talk about spatial awareness stuff, and it's just really cool. He's got a great mindset. His interviews are really cool. Like, and it's not corny, like, which is just a big thing too. Like you can tell his teammates really like him. It's all the stuff why I liked him in the draft process so much. It was just, but the thing that gets me, other than the footwork stuff that everyone just for 6 months wouldn't shut the F up about, and then as opposed to like appreciating his feel for the pocket and the eyes downfield stuff, was I always thought he was way more mentally ahead than people were making him out to be, where usually I would say guys have to sit because they can't handle a playbook. They can't handle a huddle. They don't know, even professional cadence or anything like that. And I just kept watching his college film and was like, yeah, it's a basic offense, but like, shoot, they're handing him protection checks. Like you got to read between the lines with what he's doing. So obviously this guy can handle some mental aspect pretty early. And then here we are in the last game, he's using triple cadences from the gun. And it's like, why that's a big deal is when, for a lot of rookies, especially rookie quarterbacks, their heads are swimming with these long play calls. And Alex Van Pelt runs an old school West Coast verbiage. So these are long play calls. And the cadence is kind of the afterthought. Are you on 1? Are you on 2? Are we doing a hard count to check into something? And so the fact that he's using what I'll call alternate cadences already to like get guys to jump off sides and stuff, it's like, oh man, they're like, it should just keep going and growing and growing. He's going to make mistakes. Like it's just going to happen, just circumstances and how he plays. But man, this, like you said, pretty optimistic. And going against the Dolphins defense, it's actually been playing pretty dang good. So, and still have stars at all levels. And yeah, so it's a good test for them. Dolphins are clearly the better team. Their offense is starting to roll. So like, yeah, they're going to try and make a push for the playoffs, but really fun test for Maye, the Patriots. Going on to one of my games, not as sexy. We got the Bucs at the Giants. Giants are 6-point underdogs at home. A lot of home dogs. God. The
Bucs this year.
A lot of quit. Yeah, oh my God, so much quit. Really more than ever. It really feels like it, doesn't it? Like it's just guys are just going, why am I hurt my body for this.
Daniel Jones, and I understand his situation is different, but like right before we recorded this podcast, Daniel Jones made a statement to the media about how much he enjoyed his time as a Giant. I'm like, you're still technically on the team. Like, I don't know.
remember Marcus Mariota just left the Falcons?
Yeah, like hey, at least you had the wherewithal to just not be around people if you don't feel like being here. You know, just go home. Just go home.
Jones was playing scout team safety today.
Deshaun Watson in Houston.
Yeah, that one is just like, I don't know. They've already embarrassed him enough.
Right. That seems a little bit too far.
That's too much. Make him the backup and just like go like, hey, you're just going to sit back here like all the other backups do. Like, I don't know. That's just embarrassing to me. That's like they're just really just flaunting it out there.
Like,
it's his fault,
quarterback.
guys.
You know, like,
right.
Why is he playing safety?
I know. Yeah, that's I didn't like that part. That I know it's just a little minor thing, but that's just kind of like an indicator of how they're treating him. And yeah, Jones has not played well. Trust me. It's just, but you have to have some professionalism as opposed to just throwing anybody under the bus whenever you can. Brian Dable. All right, but in this game, we got Tommy DeVito against Todd Bowles. That's fun. We got okay. I don't know how to say this guy's name. Is it Justin Skule? He's the tackle for the Bucks, Skule. So he's the guy that got, and I want to say skull because he got absolutely skull by Brian Burns, or not by Brian Burns, by Aiden Hutchinson when he had to play right tackle. And remember, Aiden Hutchinson just teed off on him, and I think he had like 4 sacks. This was week 2 or whatever. He gives up the hot
school.
Like
take my kids to school. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. He allows the highest sack rate in the NFL, according to Next Gen Stats. Now he's at left tackle, standing in for Tristan Wirfs. And the guy that lines up over there now is Brian Burns. So I'm watching that. There's fireworks always in every game. That might be some fireworks and not the good sense. So I want to see, how Liam Cohen mitigates that. The Bucs, if they just take care of business, they should have this game. A Giants defense is no joke, but you can get them. They've been giving up when their offense can't get past midfield. Mike Evans is going to be back out there. It seems like he's practicing again, going against the DB room. They can get gashed. So yeah, just kind of a morbid curiosity game. Maybe that's a new segment that we'll drop in here.
Morbid curiosity.
Morbid curiosity game, the MCG. Anything to add to this? Just
no, I don't.
know Tommy DeVito and his agent will be out there.
No.
I mean, he's making.
I'm so done with that charade. Don't care.
Oh my god, I saw his face again already. I was like, it's been like a day. How'd you already make calls about this? Actually, I shouldn't be shocked. Next one, a NFC East classic. This one they used to determine who was going to win president back in the day, but that's been blocked. Cowboys at Washington. The Commanders are 10.5-point favorites home against the Commanders. If you told me, I know Dak's hurt, but if you told me that before the season, I would have laughed. So the Commanders, 10.5-point favorites, double-digit favorites against the Cowboys. What are you checking out in this game, Charles?
Okay, there was nothing here really. So I had to do some digging, right? And
okay, good.
I have walked into the smallest sample size, most volatile nonsense to keep an eye on for this game. And we've talked about it a little bit as far as the Commanders' offense goes, where especially earlier in the season when things were really booming for them, a lot of stuff was being done on third down, third and long, where they get a ton of conversions. That was a lot higher than you would normally see. And we know that there's regression in that aspect. So over the past 2 games, the Commanders are 1-for-11 on third and long between their games against the Steelers and the Eagles. I feel like that checks out if you watched either of those games. Now, that's obviously volatile because we know it's a 2-game sample size. It's 11 plays. It's third and long. Like, these plays can flip really any time. But the reason why I was initially looking at those 2 weeks was because that's the time frame in which Micah Parsons has been back for the Cowboys. And the Cowboys defense in the 2 weeks that Micah Parsons has been back has been god awful still, but they do 3.
Sorry, I thought you were going to do that.
They now do 3 things well, right? They're a top 5 pressure team over the past 2 weeks, top 5 sack team over the past 2 weeks, top 5 third down team over the last 2 weeks. And if we're going to cut it down to that third and long sample size, the Cowboys have not given up a third and long since Micah Parsons returned back to the lineup. They're 0-8. on third down for defense.
My Mike Zimmer third down take is still alive?
It might be coming back now that he's got he's got a front seven player with a pulse back, you know? Okay. But dude, I think the Cowboys, they're at like almost a 50% pressure rate over the past 2 weeks since Michael Parsons got back. So if you're looking for anything in this game, don't watch the Cooper Rush stuff. That's poison. But just watch how Michael Parsons is able to kind of affect the Commanders' offense, because that's like the one thing in the small sample size that he's been back that they've been good at, just getting after the passer and kind of causing havoc for opposing offensive lines.
Love that, which was supposed to be the strength of this team. So good to see that. You know, not having a Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, that hurts. Yeah. That really hurts. No, that's great. I love that. For anyone that doesn't remember, one of my predictions before the season was that the Cowboys would have the number one ranked third down defense. So let's see if that can climb back up for the second half of the year. No, I love that. The Commander stuff, you know, whether it's Jayden dealing with the rib, whether it's cliff regression, whatever you want to call, is like they still have to push the ball. They still have to find ways to, you know, when they get into those situations, attack, pat down the field and everything. This is a great test for it, how they block it up if they have to get in a neutral game script and everything. So, you know, that's a good little thing to look at. Just watch third downs in this game. That's it. We'll trim it down for you. Would you say it was like 10 plays? Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. One for 11 for the Commanders, 0-8 for the Cowboys. So
love it. And the other side of the ball, Cooper Rush versus the Commanders defense. Commanders defense is playing better, but still not great. And that's just a whatever matchup. CeeDee Lamb, maybe Jake Ferguson against Bobby Wagner. I don't know. But all right, we're going to take a break. Then we're going to come back and wrap up the one thing to watch for the rest of the games. We are back. One of my games. This is a Haas fight slop watch combo. A little 2-pack for you guys here. And it's not the one I expected going in, but actually diving into it. You know, one side of the ball here is pretty fun. That is the Chiefs at the Panthers. Panthers are 11-point underdogs at home.
Home underdogs? Whoa, 11 points?
Whoa, 11 points. Yeah, I know. And I originally was going into this like, oh, can this maybe get weird? And I started, you know, kind of picking in. I had this low-key Haas fight here. Might as well upgrade it. You got the Chiefs run defense, who I think is still very good. Statistically, still good. Second in rush success rate allowed to early down running back runs. Early downs are first and second down. Late downs are third and fourth down, just in case anyone had confusion. Lowest explosive run rate allowed to running backs. The Panthers have a top 8 run game. 7th in combined rushing and explosive sex rate. I always just have to say that. The Panthers, according to Next Gen Stats, are the only team in the NFL to not allow a sack in under 4 seconds this year, which is a pretty remarkable stat when you think about it. That means just no quick hitters, no one getting them. They're pretty run heavy. You know, they make things safe for Bryce Young and when Andy Dalton was in there. The Chiefs, on the other hand, have recorded the fastest average time to sack in the NFL because they get the most unblocked pressures with all the Spags funkiness and everything that they do. So this is just pretty fun in the run game, and then pass protection wise, got strength on strength here, which is pretty surprising, which is not what you expect when you're watching Panthers Chiefs, but you got 2 legit units here that are good at the thing that the other team is good at. So actually watching this will be fun. Watching Chuba Hubbard, watching the Jonathan Brooks might be getting in there now, the rookie that they drafted out of Texas, first running back drafted actually. That's going to be fun. I know this Panthers offensive line they invested in it, and it's played really well under Joe Gilbert, who's been a long-time offensive line coach, also my freshman year offensive line coach at UCF. And so, shout out Joe Gilbert, I guess.
He's taking a raise after this season, you know?
Dude. I mean, yeah, and he was the guy that the Colts had for a little bit to try and help out with Andrew Luck and stuff. So, but no, he's making these guys. Ike Ekwonu is playing a lot better. You know, they're getting a little bit of just like an improvement along that line, and it's a legit good unit. The other side of the ball is interesting too. You know, Panthers are coming off a bye week. This is a Travis Kelce game. You know, I thought it might have been one last week. He didn't really get going, but the Panthers, you can maybe get after them, you know, with who they have. You know, their defense isn't that great. So, you know, maybe it's just Travis Kelce, he gets going. But this other side of the ball, though, just watch the Chiefs defense versus the Panthers offensive line and what they do there. I think it's going to be actually a pretty interesting matchup there that maybe they can cover the spread. I'm not calling an upset here, but maybe make it funky and cover the spread here because they can maybe control the game and some of the clock. So nice little strength on strength there. uncommon one. All right, going on to one of your games, we got AFC South matchup, Titans at Texans. Texans 8-point favorites at home. Another big spread here. What's the one thing you're watching on this game, Chuck?
Oof. I had two things. One, can CJ Stroud just overcome all of the slop that this game is going to produce? Because even the Titans defense, they've got a couple times this season, but overall the numbers are still pretty good. I think that they should probably feel good about their defense performance, and against an offense that just has been brutal, honestly, throughout most of the season. They can have some success, but I like the Texas defense. They should probably just crap on what the Titans have going on. Like this, I don't think this is a real offense that can threaten them. I know that the Titans, they've had some good games where they can run the ball effectively, but overall, it's not really a scary unit. So can CJ Stroud just rise above and just make enough plays where they can have an ugly win? And also, I just want to see how healthy Nico Collins is, because last week against the Cowboys didn't actually look 100%. Like there was an over route that he caught, and if it was week one, he would have pulled away for a touchdown. But he you see like it's a little stiff on one leg, he's hopping. Right. So but that's really all I'm looking for, because I don't think this game has much else by terms of interest or juice.
Yeah, I kind of with you on that. I was kind of even just trying to have like a little side note on it. And I was just like, just Texans got to take care of business. Yeah, I know. Titans defense is pretty good. Their front's pretty good, which should make it a slog for the Texans. I feel like it's just every Texans discussion is the same. Stroud's got to be a hero. Joe Mixon's got to pop a couple runs to overcome the offensive line. And then does the Texans pass rush get home?
Dude,
that's really what it is.
I was looking at the Titans schedule real quick, and they have scored over 20 points 2 times this season.
Who's that? The Texans?
The Titans. The Titans.
No, the Titans. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they have scored over 20 points 2 times this season. One against the zombie Dolphins when Tyler Huntley started a game, and then against the Patriots a couple weeks ago. Every other game is 17, 17, 12, 10, 14. Yeah. Oh, my God.
I know, and that's what Mason Rudolph will do. They're trying to get Calvin Ridley going a little again, but it's just such a boom bust offense. It's Levis complete the grenade, or just just like you said, toss it into your own lap. That's kind of how it looks. And I was trying to find Nico Collins' kind of speed, like whether he was running shorter distances per play last week. He played a lot fewer snaps. He was on a snap count, but he only traveled 617 yards. In comparison, his last healthy week, he ran, or his total distance traveled was over 1,400 yards. So like they were, it's not only that they didn't want him out, like they're using him in a select way. When he was out there, it was very sprint or run happy to get him going and everything. So where hamstrings suck, man. It's hard. It's hard, especially when you're a quick twitch athlete like that. It's hard to kind of just overcome it and get to 100%, especially middle of the season. Going on to the AFC West, we got the Broncos at the Raiders here in Las Vegas. Raiders are 6-point underdogs at home. Another big underdog at home. Really, this for me is Brock Bowers versus the Broncos defense, that's all you watch the Raiders for right now is Brock Bowers and Max Crosby. That's it. You're just watching those two go. Does he get the Surtain matchup? What do the Broncos identify as a way to stop him? Did they just let him eat? No one else get going? I'm going to steal another one from Next Gen Stats here. Broncos have the highest blitz rate in the NFL in early downs. Some of that's a little fudge, some of the green doc stuff that they do. The Raiders have the highest unblocked pressure rate in the NFL, meaning they don't pick up blitzes well. Should be fun. Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. So if you want to see Gardner Minshew running around a little bit, check out this game. That's all I got. The Raiders are such a zombie team right now that I'm kind of just like, all right, Brock Bowers, and that's really all I'm checking out when I'm watching them. So watch the Broncos defense, see what they're up to this week. Going on to your next game, Cardinals at Seahawks. Seahawks are 1-point underdogs at home, which actually kind of surprised me as I'm reading that out. What are you watching for in this game, Charles?
Well, at first I started looking at this game when I first looked at it, just like following just the storyline of the Cardinals season. And there's like an inflection point when they lose 42-14 to the Commanders at home, which feels like, wow, that feels like a total different lifetime compared to where we are now. But if you just take from that point on, so that week 4 game, and you move on from week 5 till now, this is like comfortably a top 5 offense in football. Very, very comfortably a top 5 offense. They are second in success rate since then, second in success rate on rush attempts, dropbacks, they're 6th, third in explosive play rate. They're first in sack rate. Kyler Murray's only been sacked on 2.9% of his dropbacks since that Commanders game. And they're also 5th in pressure rate. So that used to be like one of the knocks that you would have on Kyler Murray and some of the the quarterbacks that play like him, where you're like, oh man, too much pressure. You're just going to have to accept sacks, going to be a part of this, but they're just not really a part of the Cardinals offense. And I feel like one of the but things that people have had about Kyler Murray in general over his career has been, if you could just get him to play like this, but you get rid of the negative plays, like how good does that look? Well, we're seeing it now. Like they're a top 5 offense. Marvin Harrison Jr. is coming to life. Why am I forgetting the tight end's name? Trey McBride. Yeah, he's playing well, dude. Paris Johnson, the tackle, he's been playing really good football too.
Fantastic. Yep.
Like this offense is not. It's not like just Drew Petzing doing a good job, which he is. You also start to realize, oh wait, like no, they have some real deal good players on this offense. And I think one of the interesting things to see if they can get. I know Michael Wilson, he was banged up for part of the season, but if you can just kind of get him back into the offense a little bit and have that as another option, like there's still room for them to throw more things at you as the season progresses. So I know the Seahawks defense played well last week. Overall, though, still hasn't been a great unit. I know they've been a little bit better since Ernest Jones, came onto the team and entered the lineup. But when I preview this, it still seems to me like this is a defense, that this Cardinals offense should be able to get. So the one thing that I'm still watching for this game is just kind of continued growth of the Cardinals. Like they had the 4th pick this past year. Things didn't go well for them last year. Even when Kyler Murray came back, it was still kind of iffy. But now you're starting to see like the whole vision of the offense come together. And I think that, they're actually really, really exciting to watch once you start putting it together.
They are. It's good ball. That's why. I mean, you laughed at me the other day in a group chat. Right? We know you like the Cardinals, Nate. We got it. We got it. I feel like everybody's saying that to me right now. But no, you're right on about Kyler though. Like it wasn't always great. Last year they beat the Eagles in a big upset, and Kyler played well in that game, but it still like had moments where it's like, oh, what are you doing here? But they are just like how they used Marvin Harrison Jr. early in the season. They're like, no, we're gonna make you do the hard stuff. And it's gonna pay dividends. It's not gonna work right now. We're not gonna flash fry this. We're not gonna microwave it. We're slow cooking this. And now it's really starting to pick up, and like where I feel pretty dang good. You brought up all the top 5 stats. That's how they look. Running, they're one of the most explosive teams, running or passing. They're one of the best screen teams. They're good in protection. Trey Benson's getting involved with James Conner now. Like they're a second running back selected in last year's draft. Like like you said, the vision's kind of really coming alive here. And Kyler's third. This is just one number that you can look at for quarterback stats, but Kyler's 3rd in QBR this year, only below Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and right above Josh Allen. Like that. So it's there's only 4 quarterbacks above 70, and those are the 4 quarterbacks. Like he's playing really, really good ball. Great call on the Commanders game though, because they were hanging with them in the first half in that game. And then they just kept making mistakes. They had a 4th down. And I remember watching this game. They had a 4th down. They're near the red zone, and Kyler takes a sack. And so that's a great like kind of inflection point moment. It was like, it felt like since that moment, it was like, hey, you can't do that anymore. Like you can't take a sack and 4th down. You got to give us a chance. And so bringing up the sack rate was just like a great way, kind of like matching what exactly has kind of been going on this offense. They haven't been shooting themselves in the foot. Even when they did, like they accidentally threw a pick to Tier Tart when they played the Chargers. Tier Tart fumbles it. And so they get the ball back. Like, so like even bad moments have been like ended up okay for them. But yeah, everyone's just playing confident. They're well coached. They don't make a lot of mistakes. The special teams is really good. And then the defense is now, which was embarrassing at the beginning of the year, even though they did cool stuff, they were not good. Now they're 15th in EPA per play. They're 12th in DVOA. So this is a real team. They're like an actually good team as opposed to maybe a frisky team. But so a year ahead of schedule, I would say.
I was just looking real quick at the QBR for each game for Kyler this season, and the Commanders game is the second low this season. Randomly, he had a 27.1 QBR against the Bears game, and then I looked at this. I was like, oh, they were just running the ball, like, you know.
Yeah.
They ran the ball just 40 times in that game because they had just given up. So I don't even really think that game matters a little much. But every other game, like, you're above 50. And last week against the Jets, or 2 weeks ago against the Jets, 95. Like, this is moving back in the right direction for him.
95, you said. That's how that game felt. They couldn't make a mistake that game. It was just like, they were just, hey, let's try this. Cool, 20 yards. Hey, let's try this. Touchdown. That's fun. So yeah, that's how they're playing. And Seahawks had their best overall game last week, offense, defense, and everything. So this is a really fun one. And the NFC West is wide open. All these teams have a chance. So that's going to be really cool. All right, getting to the last one, which is one of mine. And one that is more of a narrative one for me rather than some deep dive stat stuff. And that's the Eagles at the Rams, Sunday Night Football. The Rams are 3-point underdogs at home. Weird, another home dog. But this is, if you want to look at like one matchup thing, it's Rams defensive line versus Eagles offensive line. You got the young Rams defense. Everyone looks at the pressure rates and goes, oh, they're really good, right? But, they are good. But, some of that scheme stuff and all the movement stuff that they do. Eagles offensive line, so one of the strengths in the entire NFL. But narrative-wise, we got Rams offense with Sean McVay against the boogeyman. We got Vic Fangio and the Eagles defense. This was the beginning of the end of Jared Goff as a Ram. This was the beginning of the end of that first iteration of that Rams offense back in 2018. Everything you see the Rams do right now in 2024, their main methods of attack. So we got more 2 tight ends now. They got a trade for Stafford. They got more gap scheme runs, is because of Vic Fangio.
I forgot about that
6
game.
Years ago now.
Everything they beat their ass in that game.
Whooped them. It was like embarrassing. Like they couldn't complete a pass.
Khalil Mack went crazy that game too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
God, that's a game that just was one of those random regular season games that's like always gonna be burning in my brain. Because it was a Sunday night or Monday night game too, I think. But that is. People only pay attention to the island games. But really though, everything that the Rams have shifted and used and now they're running more counter stuff now is because that they got all their zone stuff, all their boot stuff, all the stuff, their staples of this offense. Fangio just took it and threw it out and said, hey, what else you got? Like, all right, do you have a quarterback that can beat us? No. Do you have other runs that you can get to that can beat us? No. That McVay has had to evolve, and it's just been year by year, changing personnel. So really, I just want to watch this. Like, I just want to watch this part. I don't know if it's part duh. I think they've matched up maybe once or twice since then, but this really feels like a pristine Eagles defense that runs a Fangio defense all the way and still does that 6-1 front that we heard so much about. Still does versions of it. They did it last week on Thursday night.
6-1. Oh, man.
6-1.
The 6-1 memes after the Super Bowl.
6-1, man. But this is Fangio. This is a guy that runs it. He did it last week against the Commanders to take him out of some stuff, a version of it. Now you got the Rams who have new pitches to throw at it. It's a true strength on strength. This Rams offense can cook anybody. It set Patriots beat writers into a tailspin this week. This is a very good offense versus a very good defense. Really, I would say 2 top 5 units, however you parse it. So yeah, can't wait to watch that matchup.
Last thing I have, I just looked up the Jared Goff's box score from that game. 20 for 44, 180 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 sacks for 25 yards lost, and 11.1 QBR for the day.
11.1 QBR.
Yeah. 47
so, QBR is
like
percent of a chance that your team can win, right? Isn't that like how so?
Yeah. QBR is like, if we put this performance on an average NFL team, you would win X percent amount of the time. Yeah.
That's what I thought. So yeah.
So yeah, if our quarterback threw for 180 yards and 47 dropbacks and 4 picks, we'd be lucky to win 10% of the time. You're right. Yeah.
That's it. And that's what that game. I mean, they snuffed them. They just couldn't do anything in that game. So yeah, I'm sure McVay is that, has that in the back of his mind. I mean, he's a guy that seems, with the self-awareness and self-scouting of all that. So and like I said, this Eagles defense rocks and it's had a lot of strengths, and their strengths match the Rams' strengths. Cooper DeJean in the slot against whoever wants to go in the slot. Cooper Cooper versus Cooper, Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua and all that. So yeah, really cool matchup. I'm pretty excited to watch. But yeah, that's it for our one things. We're going to get to a mailbag question right now. Remember, you either can send us a question to our mailbag email at football301mailbag at yahoosports.com, or you can submit a review, 5-star review, I might add. It's on Apple Podcasts, and they go to the front of the line. So the one that jumped to the front of the line is from a very, I like this name, Expat Footy. And this is really more for you, Charles. And, I might add something on here. Is the University of Georgia offensive scheme good? This is a post Todd Monken, who's not offense coordinator of the Ravens. Post Todd Monken offense. How do we feel about the Georgia offense, Charles?
They went back to Mike Bobo, which is what no one wanted in the first place. I was like, to Kirby, you want to look a little further than who's in your contact list or your cell phone that's to find an offensive coordinator.
You only got to B,
right? You got to B, and maybe he was even saved on favorites because you already know Mike Bobo for so damn long because of his affiliation with Georgia. But I don't really know if it's poorly schemed as much as poorly coached, because this offense worked last year. It worked fine last year. Carson Beck looked great. He looked like someone would be a first round pick. Even the week 1 game versus Clemson, they looked fine for the most part, especially in the second half. But I think what the biggest problem with Georgia's offense the biggest problem I think that they've run into this year is the quarterback doesn't really give them any easy button plays, which is what you really want in college football. Like, we can't really run too much option stuff. Beck he'll scramble every now and again, but it's not like having a real,
that's not his
threat
thing. Yeah.
Under center, right? So like a lot of your runs are, you're just the running back's the only threat. On some of these RPOs, you don't really have to defend the threat of the quarterback run, which it just compresses the field for them over and over and over again. But still, this offense was fine in the same circumstances last year. I think one of the most disappointing things is just how sloppy they are, especially when it comes to blocking assignments. It's not just picking up blitzes or figuring out your slide protections, like also just like versus the run, just trying to distribute who am I blocking on a down basis. They're pretty bad at that, which is really surprising for an offensive line that is filled with seniors and like 5-star recruits. So Beck hasn't played great this year. I still don't think he's quite as bad as maybe like the whole season would suggest, because even this last week he played pretty well
for him.
Maybe he could transfer to Wisconsin after this season.
Man, actually, yeah,
because that might be better for his draft stock than just declaring. But it's just congested, and I think I know that people, like, I've seen some Georgia fans complain like the offense is too quote unquote pro style, but what they really mean is I wish our quarterback would run some more, and it's a little tough when you can't do that.
I love how pro style, even if they're in the gun 80% of the time, it's like,
right.
You just mean you don't like quick game. That's what you're saying. You don't like drop back passing. No, I kind of, as someone that just kind of watches college football nowadays, really through the lens of the draft, which is kind of warped, but it's just kind of how I roll these days. You kind of nailed it. For Beck has just been below average this year, compared to what I expected. I should say below expectation, for use a next gen stat on him. I really do think that it's been a guy that I thought would be battling for QB1. And when I did my top 50, he wasn't even close to it. Like, I probably had 2 more quarterbacks in between him and the next of quarterbacks. Like, I still had 2 more before I even got to him, which is saying something in this QB class. But yeah, like you said, it's a very traditional attack, even if it's, gone and all that modern stuff, but they just don't have the juice to overcome it. I mean, losing Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey will do that.
The wide receiver room is bad. Like, I don't like to just like crap on some of these kids who are still in college, but dude, Arian Smith, the wide receiver that they have, like, you can tell so obviously when someone is a sprinter playing football instead of like someone who's fast that's also a football player, because dude, he is flying down the field, and then when it's time to make a play on the ball, it's like, well, I forgot my hands. It's like an infomercial where like fall down the stairs and stuff like that, dropping screens, fumbling the ball. I'm like, God, you're so fast, but you stink. And then
What were
Dylan
you
Bell,
doing
the other
at
guy.
recess?
Right. Dylan Bell, the other guy who I think is actually a spectacular football player, number 86, who plays like running back and receiver for him.
Yep.
His problem is he runs like a 4.6 kind of. So, you know, you can never, like, I can't have, you know, peanut butter and jelly at the same time. I got to have one or the other. But they've had enough 5-star recruits. They'll fix it at some point.
Right. I know. And Kirby won't let this sit for too long. That's the thing. Stop hiring your friends though. It's hard.
How well
it's hard
when you hire someone you didn't really know.
Especially with Monken. I can only imagine those two interacting. Monken's insane. So I can only imagine that. I watch a more Georgia defense because just the guys that they have. But like I've always laughed at a fast player that can't catch. Like I always just am fascinated by that. Like some of the most athletic guys I've been around, just like they just don't know how to catch. Like it's just like this. Let the ball come into you.
It's right there.
just let it go. Let it get. Don't split your hands. Don't do any of that. If anyone watching on YouTube, that's how you're supposed to catch. You web your hand together like that and let it come into there. But we're closing it out today. Charles and I hinted this at the beginning of the show, said this on Tuesday. We'll be back on Sunday afternoon. Instant takeaways from the day games. All these games we just did the one thing on, except for that Eagles-Rams game. We'll be recording during Sunday Night Football just to get this in everybody's ears before they wrap up the night. Hear what we got. Maybe you're doing some chores. Maybe you're coming down. Maybe you have to drive from the stadium, something like that. But hopefully we can listen to that or Monday morning when you're going on to work. But it'll be me and Charles starting this Sunday and through the rest of the season. I am Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice. Charles, where can they find you? What have you been working on this week?
You can find me on 4verts on Twitter. Haven't been there as much this week. You can find me on Blue Sky too. Just a lot of writing. Wrote about Drake Maye, wrote about Netflix. You know, I had some fun with the 4verts column this week. And yeah, I'm excited for this Sunday show. I'll be, this funny, the first episode will be from my parents' basement. So maybe we'll get a couple dog appearances if they are feeling rambunctious that day.
I used to have my mage when I was living in an apartment. That was Robert Mays, my old co-host. I'm sure he hates my cat now because of how many times, because she'd be like, "Oh, you're talking? Hi. And she'd just be meowing throughout the thing. Oh man, Robert would be like, "Come on." I'm like, "All right, we gotta lock her up." But no, that'll be good. And also outside the Sunday shows that we're going to be popping out there, we're also going to be doing a special Thanksgiving preview show just for next week. We'll get to that next week when it comes out. But subscribe to us. Follow us, rate us 5 stars. If not, yell at us on YouTube and tell us why you want to give us 4 stars instead. You know, I'll take that. I'll take a reply. I might ask a question how we can improve. You can also watch us on YouTube, on the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. Thanks to Brett and Stone behind the scenes. Thank you to you, Chuck, bringing the fastball as always. Hope you guys have a great weekend. We will see you guys on Sunday/Monday morning. Enjoy your football. Thanks for listening. See you guys next time.